Wednesday, December 11th, and it's a Warriors Wednesday here on Damon Bruce. Plus, let's make sure I'm on my side, Cyrus is on his side. Little golden days, little Damon Bruce coming at you. Co-streaming, baby. It's a Warriors Wednesday. Cyrus, I was under the weather last week. We didn't get together. Good to see you, pal. How you doing?
Yeah, I saw you with Larry, so I'm not going to lie, man. My feelings are a little hurt that you go on with him, you ditch me. I see how the pecking order is. I get it. This is also a total bit. I don't care. I'm just glad you're doing okay, brother. Great to see you. I'm sure the Golden Days audience missed you last week because I'm talking Warriors every day. So it's great to see you, man. This is Warriors Wednesday. It is a thing. Welcome to the Damon Bruce audience if you don't see me often. And Damon, always great to see you, brother.
It is great to see you, and it is always great to see my good friend Ike giving you the sandwiches that you need to have delicious lunches each and every day. Thank you for spokesmodeling the graphic. Appreciate it, Vanna, Cyrus. Get yourself to Ike's. Download that Ike's Rewards app. Start earning your way to free sandwiches, chips, drinks, and a chance to go to New Orleans for a very large football game in the month of February. Our friends at the Dubliner are always open and ready for business. Come on through the Dubliner as well in West Portal. One of the best bars that you will walk into in all of San Francisco. A perfect place to go and watch the biggest sporting event in the world. It's the NBA Cup Quarterfinals. Whatever that means. We'll talk about what that means here. But
how dare you be facetious about the NBA? How dare you?
Thank you so much to the Dubliner and to the word facetious. And Cyrus, what do you got? Let's go ahead and get the business out of the way.
Thank you, sir. Golden Days every day is brought to you by Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform. That's a fact, folks. I'm not just saying that. That is not just on my copy in front of me. It is a scientific fact. And they're also your number one source for online betting, from the earliest odds to in-game live betting. Bet Online provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen, with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC, and so much more. Head to Bet Online today, and don't forget to use the promo code of the network that Golden Days is on. Damon, I'm sure they'd love you if you decide to no longer be independent and join a network. Believe could be your home. BLEAV is how you spell it. And make sure you put that promo code in for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online. The game starts here.
So the game will start tonight in Houston. Every bit of your television is going to look like it's been dipped in infrared. As of all the obnoxious NBA Cup courts, tonight might be the most obnoxious of all the courts. And for that standpoint alone, I want this to be over. Like, seriously, the only way to ruin your concept of this imaginary competition is if you put it on a court that hurts my eyes. I'm hearing that NBA Cup viewership is down. That's because you're giving us something that's hard to look at, for Christ's sakes. I don't know
think that helps.
What is going on? It doesn't help. Choices.
I mean, it's weird that last year the gimmick was working. People were talking about it, and it wasn't followed with criticism. This year, you're right. Like, for some reason, the colors are like, there's less artistry and just more pop. And like last year, I felt like they were trying. There was some creativity there with effort behind it to make these courts look flashy. They were still like bright and weird, but for some reason last year they were palatable. This year, I don't think they're trying. I think they're just going, let's just make it bright. I got too much on my plate this year. Just make it bright, make it flashy, and just put it out there and let the people eat it up.
When they were in Denver had like that golden court, and there was a picture of Steve Kerr, and the light was being reflected on. He looked like he had jaundice. It looked like
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I mean, God, he looked like seriously, we got to get some Steve, some nutrition or something over here. But look, it is. If there's a competition going on, you might as well be in it. And the Warriors have themselves in this competition.
Exactly.
And what I think, and I know that you, God bless you, you're a little crazy. You get more worked up about NBA rotations before freaking Christmas than anyone I've ever met.
Well, in my defense, Damon, most teams In my defense, most teams don't have 13-man rotations, and most teams don't have all these like question marks. Like most teams have set rosters where that's predictable. That the Warriors are not the norm in the
But
NBA
we knew
landscape.
that wasn't happening this year, and so I'm not really expecting it to happen. But what I'm wondering is if tonight, in the name of it's the NBA Cup, Cyrus, does Steve Kerr actually approach this a little bit more like a game with circumstances attached to it, where he does, come off a 12, 11-man rotation, short up to the 10-9 guys tonight? Do you think that happens, or is this going to look like regular season, everybody plays Warrior basketball?
I think Kerr treats every single game like a must win. And I think like what we're seeing on the court is just him doing what he thinks is best. Like I don't doubt that. It is crazy because of how many players, because of the fact that oftentimes you don't see the most talented players getting the appropriate minutes. You get players that in Kerr's subjective mind, he feels is worthy of it, or he feels it fit in terms of the other personnel on the court. And thus that's the best matchup. There's a lot to, he makes life interesting, and God bless Steve Kerr for helping my ratings on my program, because if he wasn't so interesting, I don't think my program would be as a result. But with that said, I think for tonight, look, Andrew Wiggins is questionable. He was seen at a shoot around this morning, but we don't know if he's going to play. And I think that's important in the grand scheme of things, given he's one of their best players.
I was surprised that they were able to beat Minnesota in that back-to-back at Chase Center without Wiggins. I was surprised they even got one game off of him.
That's crazy. Yeah, you're right. But despite that, I don't know if you want to get used to that. I think you can survive for a game without him. He's still one of your best players. And for me personally, like watching this team with Wiggins and Kuminga on the court together, that athleticism, that toughness they bring makes life difficult for the other 29 teams, man. Like I don't think any other team is happy seeing both those guys out there on both sides of the court. With that said, so we don't know if Wiggins is going to play, but I do think the Warriors, again, look, they have the Rockets number. They've beaten them 15 straight times. Alperen Sengun and Steven Adams are both listed as questionable as well. So if those two are missing, we're talking small ball versus small ball, and that's always in the Warriors' favor. Right. Should be a good time, but again, Steve Kerr will treat this appropriately, and keep in mind a lot of the bench players, right? Like you look at the Warriors roster, Lindy Waters the third, Guy Santos, all the guys near at the bottom of the rotation, even like Trace Jackson Davis, your boy is not making a lot of money. He's making like $1.5 million, $2 million, damn near the bottom of the barrel. And so for them, a win tonight means $100,000. So you're going to see effort. You're going to see effort from these guys. And it's an automatic $100,000. You win that, you're guaranteed $250,000. So there is incentive for a lot of these role players, and the Warriors are full of them, brother. How do you feel about Trace Jackson Davis, by the way? Yeah, I've been wanting to ask you this forever, because he got a DNP last game, because there's a possibility if the Warriors make a trade, he might be a part of it. What are your thoughts on what's going on with TJD, brother? Because
I would trade Trace Jackson Davis at your own risk, because the player that you're evaluating is not perfect fit right now. In a little more time, I think could and would be. He is the rim runner that I think this team needs. Yeah. He's committed to playing defense. He's weak side. He is rim protection. And again, I'm biased when it comes to Trace Jackson Davis. I won't even pretend that I'm not, but I would not be going away from him. Kevon Looney has been playing well. I understand why he's gobbling up some minutes, but to include Trace Jackson Davis in a trade, that player that you're trading for better be a season-altering level talent, because I would continue to invest in Trace if I were the Golden State Warriors. And I guess this brings us to a little bit of the trade talk. And my thumbnail today has got the Ghostbusters slash over Jimmy Butler. And I love Jimmy Butler in so many ways, but I don't like him now at this point in time in the career for the Warriors. And we'll get to that in a second. We were kind of talking about this a couple of Wednesdays ago. You either got to figure out a way to showcase Jonathan Kuminga to trade him for a mega deal, or you got to play Jonathan Kuminga to win the game that you're actually in. And either way, it means you're playing him.
Yeah.
I think Kuminga needs overplay minutes right now to either prove that he is worth not trading, or get somebody out there to look at him and go, all right, you know what? we don't need Kuminga and a pick. Kuminga's going to be enough. Like this is who I will make this big trade for. And I just feel like the Warriors aren't showcasing him the right way, nor are they getting the most out of him that they need for themselves the right way right now.
If there's any, the last 3 games, you're absolutely right. I agree with you, which means this will not be interesting in terms of back and forth. With that said, look, we're going to agree a lot because we're both bright minds. I hope the audience agrees with that sentiment. With that said, the last 3 games, we've finally seen Kuminga getting the minutes that we've all wanted. At least folks like myself who think that this kid should play, think the potential is real.
I want him 30 a night.
And the last game, for example, he put in 36. And the good news is, look, apparently it seems if we're all reading the same pages of the same book here, Kuminga was likely never going to be Kerr's boy. Like Kerr has made it very obvious that Kuminga is not the perfect fit for him, right? Which begs the question, why draft him? Kerr is very much involved in all those decisions. So it's like, why draft the kid? I know that they won the title his rookie year and that changed everything. But with that said, you still have him on your team. Like, you got to treat him appropriately. These last 3 games, I think, with Draymond making those public comments, relegating himself to the bench his first game back, him and Steph both publicly saying that Kuminga is the face of the franchise moving forward. Like, the momentum seems to be now in place, thanks largely to the veteran players, that Kuminga is the guy. And what we've seen the last 3 games is Kerr. I feel like Kerr's at a point now where he can't hold him back anymore because it's just too obvious that he's a vital part of this team. And like you said, if you're going to trade him, you got to play him as well to boost his value. But I think he's staying. I mean, the more I watch this Warriors team and from what I'm reading and hearing, I don't think he's being sent anywhere. And if the Warriors are going to make a trade, Damon, and I love to talk trade because the market this year is going to be hot. And the reason why I love talking about it now and why I think the Warriors would be foolish not to get involved in this trade market is because this season is a buyer's market. And that's what I'm harping on full-heartedly is if you're going to make a deal, this is the year to do it. The capture the flag race is perfect. It feeds right into what the Warriors need to do because thanks to Cooper Flagg and that top-heavy draft for the next year, you have a lot of teams tanking. And this is the moment where DeAnthony Melton's expiring deal carries suddenly a ton of weight. And something as simple as a second-round draft pick can get you back a player. My number 1 target is Nikola Vucevic. I know we're going to talk about Jimmy Butler. We're going to talk about those Brooklyn Nets players because Shams Charania reported that. But Vucevic, to me, should be the number 1 target because you don't have to give up anything. You can trade literally DeAnthony Melton's expiring, GP2's contract, or Looney. You got to give up one of the two because both those players also have expiring contracts. Throw in a second-round pick to make the Bulls happy. They're in the middle of a rebuild. They don't want Vucevic long-term. And get back a center who will complete the identity of this team and give you that starting 5 that could ease pressure off Trayce Jackson-Davis for this year, that could bring Looney off the bench where he should be coming from. And I'm predicting this, Damon. If they make that trade, they're winning the championship this year. I really think Vucevic would be that perfect of a fit. But point being, it's a buyer's market. They got to act this year, man.
It feels like they know that too. Like they had this sort of plan that they were just going to conquer the NBA with a level of depth that no other team could really have. Again, this is not how basketball works at a YMCA level, really. And we knew that reality was going to come and meet them. And sure enough, it did. And I do think that DeAnthony Melton was such an interesting piece that I don't want to say that removing him from the equation might be a good thing in the long run, but they might have stuck with something that was unsustainable had Melton stuck around, and they really are trying to play 13 guys a night. And that's just that is not how basketball works. Good
point. Yeah. So, and that his contract is valuable. The fact that it's expiring, the fact that it's worth nearly $13 million. I did not expect Melton's value to come from his contract and not the player itself, but that $13 million, the fact that it's expiring is lucrative. The fact that it carries as much value as it does is lucrative, so you can make trades happen. I mean, that signing was huge in that respect. And the fact that you have a lot of tanking teams out there who are happily taking that on, knowing it's off the books. And here's the best part. If you liked watching Melton play for the Warriors this year, that injury, and I'm never wishing injury on anyone, but if there's a bright side to it, besides the fact that the contract is enticing for a lot of other tanking teams, DeAnthony Melton could come back to the Warriors next year, and he could come back at a cheaper price, sadly, because of the injury. But the point is, if you loved Melton in a Warriors jersey, and I think he was happy here, he might still be back. That's the beauty of this, Damon. This is set up nicely for the Warriors. I'm not going to lie.
So Brian Windhorst has, LeBron James and Jimmy Butler being attached to the Golden State Warriors. And I'll tell you,
wrote that today?
Like it's not even a little, let me see here. Let me look.
I think that's fascinating because Brian Windhorst just 2 days ago, I think, was on NBA Today saying like, he was like the most he was most disinterested in any LeBron trade talk, saying he doesn't expect LeBron to go anywhere. And so now 2 days later, he's writing LeBron trade stories. That I think that's interesting to me.
Well, but for the latest attribution to Windhorst is the Golden State Warriors are targeting LeBron James and Jimmy Butler. Like there's a world where both would come. No, first of all, no. And here's the deal. I like Jimmy Butler. I would have loved this idea 3 years ago. When you should have traded for Jimmy Butler? You should have done it when you had Clay as a piece and you had a pick that could have been used then. And, the opportunity to make that big swing for Butler was a couple of years ago, not now. And I'll say this for LeBron too, who is still, LeBron James is 43 minutes away from passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for most on-court minutes in NBA history.
That's
and
crazy.
If you look at LeBron this year, and I am not this huge, let's criticize LeBron because I know it's good for the algorithm guy. I'm not that guy. If you watch LeBron this year, it's the first year I've ever watched LeBron James, and I thought to myself, wouldn't want that on the team. He is walking defensively. He is just so unconcerned with playing defense, and he is letting Anthony Davis clean up not some of the things behind him, but everything behind him. LeBron, this is the year that he is officially being tapped on his shoulder by Father Time. He staved it off last year, that son of a bitch. He really did. This year is the year where Father Time is right on his heels. And
it's catching up. It's finally catching up.
And it had to. I mean, my God, he's about to play more minutes than any other human has ever played in the NBA in his next game or two. Of course, he is going to slow down at the age of 74. It was bound to happen.
And
it's the
Damon,
wrong
Damon, you and I are old enough to remember Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in his later years. Like, he looked his age. He didn't look spry. Probably the last 10 years, he looked old. He was like balding, and the goggles never helped. And he always had like that hunched back, running back and forth. Like, he looked old. And the fact that LeBron has now outplayed him even minutes wise, that is absurd. I'm looking at LeBron's numbers right now, and the fact that we're talking about him fading with these numbers is still ridiculous when you think about it. You're right. By his standards, he is regressing. He's aging a bit this year. But look at his numbers. He's still putting up 23 points a game. He's still from the 3-point line, and his 3-point progression has completely impressed me. The fact that when he came into the league, he was not a shooter. Nope. And the fact that he can shoot the three now, but this year, 35.9%, which is not great. It's passable, not great. So he's hitting 35.9%. And his rebounding numbers at 8 rebounds per game, 9.1 assists per game, 23 points per game. Those are like Magic Johnson numbers at his peak. But you're right. By LeBron James's standards, because he's not putting up 28, 29.
Again, just using my naked eyes. Yeah. That man ain't moving defensively like the Warriors would need him to move, right? He just is not. So there is a solution out there for the Warriors, but two of the oldest available options in the league don't sound like good solutions to me. And unfortunately, Jimmy Butler and LeBron James are just a little bit, again, the Warriors have enough old dude veteran experience that matters on their team where they need someone, to say Giannis is that even is a pipe dream, right? But
that's a total pipe. Yeah, for this year. Yeah.
They need someone who isn't looking for senior discounts at Denny's to save this year.
Well, and they also need someone that whose price tag is not exorbitant, because I do think the Warriors have proven that they can, as currently constructed, they can be a playoff team. A championship might be wishful thinking. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, but the odds are stacked against you to win a chip with this roster. But I think you've proven you can make the playoffs at least. You can compete with the best of them, so you don't have to swing for a Jimmy Butler. Side note, by the way, the Jimmy Butler piece, on yesterday's Golden Days, we did a trade episode. The trade machine was firing. I had multiple trade machines because no one is perfect. And using two trade machines, I could not get a Jimmy Butler to the Warriors trade approved, because at least according to the trade machines, their salaries, given how complicated the CBA has become and all the restrictions, and the salaries have to match apparently to the penny,
right?
In
your
order
hard
for that
cap,
trade to work.
Yeah, you're hard capped. You can't go over this apron. Blah 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 blah. It's
almost impossible. It's almost impossible. So you also have to find a trade partner that is not in a similar salary cap hell that the Warriors are in, where they've used their mid-level exception, where they're hard taxed. They're pushing the first apron. Like the Warriors are not in a position where they can just where the rules are in their favor, and neither are the Miami Heat. So I'm guessing they'd have to get a third team involved just to make that trade work. It's a lot of salary you're sending out. Now look. And this is where I'd love to pose a question to you, Damon, because there is one scenario where I could stomach Jimmy Butler coming back. And that's if it's a trade that's centered around Andrew Wiggins. And look, I've been critical of Wiggins the previous 2 years. I was also advocating for the Warriors to trade for him. I'm all about the moment, dude. People
one for one, Wiggins for Butler. That's it. Okay, we can talk.
Well, exactly. Now, what if? But you might have to include a GP2 or something like that to make the salaries work, because Butler is making a hell of a lot of money. Although I guess if you included Melton, the point is, it is possible without giving up the house if you include Wiggins. But I'm guessing Miami would want a lot more than that, and maybe you'd have to attach a couple of first rounders. I don't know, but that's the point I'm making here, and the question I want to ask: if it's Wiggins as the centerpiece, and you're not giving up Kuminga, you're not giving up Podziemski, Moody, it's primarily Wiggins and Melton and another veteran like a GP2 or a Looney. Would you do it then?
My concern then is you gave up so much to improve your team through Jimmy Butler. Now you don't have enough of a team left around Jimmy Butler and Steph. This is the needle that Mike Dunleavy Jr. is trying to thread right now, right? This is the whole game within the game. So you said you went over a lot of trades, and your trade machine was firing. Let me just ask a few that have come up here.
So just to summarize those, so Jimmy Butler, you and I are both no, right? Neither of us are excited about that. Is that fair?
That is fair, unless it's Butler for Wiggins. And again, Guy Santos. Okay, we can talk about that. But
again, the problem with that is it's not on the Warriors side where the problem lies. It's whether or not Miami's okay with that. And this also comes down to what else Miami's getting out there in terms of offers. We do know Jimmy Butler will not exercise the player option for next season. So meaning he's going to be a free agent after this year. He listed 3 teams that he expressed interest in joining himself, the Warriors, and then the 2 Texas teams, Houston and Dallas. San Antonio apparently is too ghetto for him, too far out there apparently for Jimmy Butler. But in terms of Texas, with that said, those are his teams. Who knows if those teams are interested? If I'm Houston, I think I would be way more interested in this deal than if I'm the Warriors, because the Rockets, I don't think, and I don't know, we're not here to talk about Houston, but just looking at the NBA as a whole, I think the Butler to Houston makes way more sense. But the Warriors, I'm not giving up. I would consider Wiggins as well.
Butler provides a level of playoff experience and veteran leadership that Houston does not have on their roster.
Exactly.
Where the Warriors are dripping with that on their roster. So they don't need a classroom teacher, a crossing guard to help them across the street the way that the Houston Rockets would need. This is from Chef A. He says, Cyrus, could we get Brook Lopez without trading Kuminga?
Great question. We talked about that yesterday. I think that there, and Damon, I'd love to get your perspective on this, because my answer is not a scientific hard answer. It's my opinion based on what I observed. I don't think Brook Lopez is available to begin with. Milwaukee is hanging by a thread, and they don't have a lot of depth at the center position. So if you're trading to get Brook Lopez. I'm guessing Milwaukee would want a center back. So I guess Kevon Looney would likely have to be included in a deal like that. And I also don't know if Brook Lopez is the answer, dude. Like, you could get someone as good, if not better, for way less than what Milwaukee would ask for. Your thoughts?
Again, you're talking about Vucevic, right?
Vucevic with the Bulls, yes.
Yes. Like, I would be more interested in him than Brook Lopez.
Agreed.
And it fits better too, right?
Well, they're both similar. They're both guys who can space the floor. Brook Lopez might actually be a better option.
Financial fit.
Yes. Financial fit, borderline perfect. Now, Vucevic does have 2 years remaining on his contract, I think, after this year, at least one. But he's not making a ton of money either. You would not be in salary cap hell adding a Vucevic to your roster. So, yeah. That's my favorite right now in terms of who's out there. I'm with you. By the way, a couple of donation comments. Do you mind addressing those real fast?
Oh, sure. Let's take a look at it. Some supers coming in here from OMG. It's Manny. Give me Vucevic, not Butler. Yeah, I think we're on the same page there.
Yeah,
and
we are.
Let the jet fly. Cy Moody can't be traded this season. I wish that we could just have Steve Kerr give Moody a month. Quit yanking him in and out of the lineup and all this, like looking for the perfect place to deploy and just play him. Just play him. Play him. Let him play through mistakes. Let him play through what is and isn't working. I mean, it's just, I've been the most frustration I think I have in terms of just who is he? What is he supposed to be? What would you say your plan is? Moody, the fact that they've had this guy available to them for 4 years now, and they still can't figure out what he is or how to use him is a blemish on the Warriors.
Yeah, I used to feel for the kid. I'm so thankful he got the extension because at least now, regardless of how he's treated, he's set for life. So that's the good news with Moses Moody. I'm absolutely with you. I value this kid. I think he can play. I don't like the herky-jerky treatment. You're never going to develop a player properly that way. He's not going to play tonight. He's out for tonight's game. That left knee's been bugging him. That the injury report did reveal that, and Sam Gordon of the SF Chronicle also tweeting that as well. So Moody's out for tonight's game. I'm 100% with you, both in terms of his value, in terms of some consistency, being nice with minutes for him. And I agree that they shouldn't trade him. However, given the way we've seen how Kerr values him, right, which is not super high. So if he is traded, don't be surprised. But I'm with everyone here. I like him. I want him to play.
So give me more options. Give me a few other guys and names that are out there. Let's maybe start with the Brooklyn Nets, who are definitely open for business. And what business are you looking at?
So, and this is, again, Shams Charania wrote a column for ESPN for the Disney Enterprise a couple days ago.
Shams Wow.
Shams Bombers. He said he was just doing a lot of trade speculation, trade rumors and stuff. It was a trade article about players and teams. And the Nets have reportedly 3 players on their roster that the Golden State Warriors have inquired about. And that part's interesting because this report shows that the Warriors are making calls. They do see the landscape for what it is. This is a buyer's market. Pounce on it. Get over whatever issues you have with midseason trades because this team typically doesn't do them. Kerr is clearly opposed to them. We've only really seen one midseason trade of significance in the Kerr era, and that was to get Andrew Wiggins, but that was also in the middle of a completely lost rebuild season in 2020 when they won an NBA low 15 wins, resulting in James Wiseman sat into that story. So the Nets have made available Dennis Schroeder. Let me rephrase that. The Warriors inquired about Dennis Schroeder, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson's the name I like the most.
I wish they get the Dennis Schroeder that's always playing the Warriors because that guy is a fucking killer. Schroeder sees the Warriors and he turns into James Terry, like the guy's hitting mid ranges and he's just everything.
Yeah, he defends Steph incredibly well. It's annoying.
But yeah, no, what you said, Cam Thomas, 100%.
No, I'm sorry, Cam Johnson.
Cam Johnson, yeah.
And the confusion's understandable, Damon. It is weird they have 2 Cams who are both good. Cam Thomas is the trading for Cam
Inman.
Cam Spencer, Pat's brother, who's really good, supposedly. Is that his name? Anyways, so Cam Johnson, who played for Kerr in the FIBA Cup 2 summers ago. fell out of the rotation by the end of that tournament. So I don't know if, but again, the Warriors inquired. The Warriors literally called them and presented those 3 names. I don't think it's possible for the Warriors to get all 3. They all make good money, but Melton's expiring. Sure does set the path up where all you have to do is likely give up one other piece. They may want Moses Moody. They're almost certainly going to want draft picks. But again, they're a tanking team. The Warriors have the leverage here. They don't have to give up much. That's the beautiful part about this. So it's all about making the salaries work. Cam Johnson's my fave of these 3. I think Dorian Finney-Smith would be a nice veteran to add to give you some stability off the bench, gives you a little size for the small ball Warriors. He would be a big. And then Dennis Schroeder, I think if the Warriors get him, it likely means Podziemski's either traded or just phased out for the season. What are your thoughts on all this?
Exactly what my next question was going to be with the frustrating game that Podziemski played in Denver that had Kerr talking about him at the press conference. We just saw Draymond basically sort of say, Pods has got to give us more in so many words as well. Do you think that Podziemski has played himself off of the Warriors' untradeable list?
Oh, possibly. Yeah. I thought you were going to say just play. Kerr still loves him. He's going to get his minutes still, but
I know, but do you think that they're looking at Podziemski differently this week than just 2 weeks ago?
That's a great question. I can't get a strong read on how Lacob feels about Podziemski, and to a lesser extent, Mike Dunleavy Jr. I feel like they're just kind of arm in arm. I don't have a strong grasp on how they feel. We know how Kerr feels. We do know how Lacob and Dunleavy Jr. feel about Kuminga. They like him. They want him to stay. That's why for people that want him to be traded, I would not get your hopes up. For people who think he might be traded, I would get your hopes up. I don't think he's going to, if you don't want that to happen. But with Podziemski, it's suddenly, look, Kerr likes the kid. He likes ball handlers. The team has said they see him as a part of the future. What do you think, man? I think your answer is as good as mine here, brother.
Fourth quarter. Did I see that like the other day? He's shooting 4 or 5% from the floor in the fourth quarter. Like he's been off. If
I will try to look that up. I did not see that stat.
You can't open with him. You can't close with him. He's just been. I don't know what to make of him.
I think. Look,
again, if you are the ball handler, you can't be uncorking these. What are you, some dude at the YMCA trying to get a girlfriend passes? Like I don't get it. I don't get it. You can't be a smart player and play like that and still maintain this. He's a really smart young player persona. I don't know.
I think he brings value as a backup point guard. Like in my opinion, I think he's fine there. If you limit his minutes to 15 to 20, he's Steph's backup. Like him and Steph out there together, I'm not a big fan of, and we're seeing less of that lately, which is good. I don't think they play well off each other, and I think you're getting redundancies with them out there together. You're losing defense with them out there together. When Podziemski comes off the bench backing up Steph, I don't mind it. I don't see it being a detriment. I do feel like the Warriors are successful when he's used like that. But he's not ready for the prime time, clearly. And I get it's a great question, dude. I think your answer is as good as mine in terms of whether the Warriors would trade him. It also begs the question: does he still have trade value? After what we've seen this year.
If I'm Mike Dunleavy Jr. and I'm looking at my team and I'm looking at options, I guess I would be operating from one place only, and that would be anyone not named Steph Curry is someone we should talk about. And that's that. That's it. The only untradeable Golden State Warrior is Steph Curry. That's it. That's it. And we know that means now Draymond is included. Who's going to do that? I don't know. I don't know what the value is, but the Warriors should be exploring any and all everything options, knowing that they don't really, it's going to be hard for them to land a player you feel just great. Like, let's say, okay, so they crafted a trade to land them Zion. Okay, well, that sounds really interesting until you remember that Zion can't put 4 healthy days together yet. Like, since Duke. Like, this isn't a recent development. He can't put 3 weeks together without getting hurt. So, am I interested in Zion? Conceptually, yes. But in reality, no, not at all. Because the last thing the Warriors need to do is trade a whole bunch of can go out and play tonight guys for a guy who's never available to play, no matter how good he might be.
Well, here's the thing. I'm glad you brought up Zion because as crazy as it sounds, if any team out there is interested in him, now is the time to get him. The Pelicans would give him up for practically nothing. The way his contract is stipulated, he could very well be released after this year because his contract is no longer guaranteed. He has clearly soured. His honeymoon's long been over in New Orleans. And the good news is, if you take a swing on Zion, you don't have to give anything up of importance. The hardest part with getting Zion would be matching salaries. And then if you get him, it's finding minutes, right? Like you'd likely start him as your center. Damon, are you opposed to the idea if you don't have to give up anyone of significance?
Zion
Yeah.
for post game notes, sure. Okay, yeah. I mean, yes, okay. Zion for Raymond Ritter's assistant, sure. But Zion for someone who might actually go out and play tonight, I don't know, man. Zion for Guy Santos, sure. Speed of fucking light. Let's do that.
There's some reality to that. It literally would be DeAnthony Melton's expiring, and then you'd have to include like Looney and GP2 or Wiggins, but because to get the salaries to match, right?
At that point, isn't it on New Orleans to get a much better return for Zion than that?
Well, that's the problem. No one wanted. He's become, as crazy as this sounds, a toxic asset, just like Brandon Ingram. The Pelicans have two marquee names that no one wants.
I'd much rather have Brandon Ingram. I think I'd much rather have Brandon Ingram.
Well, I would love to have Brandon Ingram, but see, Ingram though fell out of favor with Kerr 2 summers ago as well. Him and Cam Johnson
favor with Steve from the year that they play for him for 15 minutes. You know,
like that one supposedly was really the beginning of Ingram's decline, especially when it comes to value, because Kerr wasn't even playing him by the end of that tournament. He completely was phased out and his value tanked. And ever since then, his brand has just completely fallen. Yeah, Brandon Ingram, like, it's crazy that no one wants him. The Pelicans would trade him for anything because he wants a max deal after the season. The Pelicans will not give him a max deal. He's an unrestricted free agent after this year. Both these players are. That's why the Pelicans are ready to give him up for nothing. They'll take anything back. You'd have to include a second-round pick. That's what it would cost you in the grand scheme of things, a second-round pick for Zion Williamson or even Brandon Ingram, in addition to what makes the salaries work. It's crazy, dude. You're absolutely right that it's nuts that these two are available for practically nothing. It's wild, but they are.
Well, I mean, if they're available for practically nothing, there is an element of that where, then there's maybe some real value to extract from there. And there's also the clear message is that the value is nothing.
Yeah, that too.
Again, best ability, availability. You're talking about one guy who has not been available since Duke.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And that's why this is a buyer's market. That's why if you're a team like the Warriors, this could be the year, man. Not most years are not like this. Most seasons you don't have assets that teams are trying to like get rid of.
The Warriors need some sure footing more than they need a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
And the Hail Mary could be a touchdown. But I'm going to go back to what Kerr always says. Don't forget about the home run. Just hit singles.
And there's other assets out there too. Like Portland, for example, is a team that would be wheeling and dealing. Robert Williams III, I know he's got his injury issues, but if he's healthy, I'll take him immediately, man. And you could get him for practically nothing. There are a lot of assets out there that carry some significant value, and it's entirely up to Kerr and whether or not he feels these individuals would fit. If the answer is yes, dude, the Warriors are upgrading. If they stand pat this year like they did last year, that frustrated me because the Warriors went on that 4-1 run right as the trade deadline was approaching. Steve Kerr never likes to have midseason trades. I call him Picky Steve because of he's so focused on chemistry and ball handling. That's like his two biggest variables of importance that he doesn't like to trade players in the middle of the season. They should have made a trade last year. I'm still frustrated about that. The good news is this year it is a buyer's market, whereas last year you might have had troubles making deals of value where you're not getting ripped off. This year, you're the one ripping the other side off because they want to be ripped off so they can suck and try to get Cooper Flagg, who's going to be amazing, by the way.
So give me the trade. It's up to you. You get to put one trade on Mike Dunleavy's desk, and he will execute that trade. What are you doing?
I'm doing Vucevic because I like this team, the way they're rolling. They've got good chemistry. I agree with with Kerr's philosophy of not messing with something if it's good, right? Like you don't want to disrupt things. But with that said, this team as currently constructed is not good enough to win a championship. I don't think you're disrupting things tremendously by making a trade for Vucevic, a center who's got an high IQ, who spaces the floor. Just last week had a 39.8 rebound a night. The guy can play. I think he would be a fantastic fit. Backup plans, given we know that the Warriors have reached out to the Nets. Cam Johnson would also be a great fit. He wouldn't cost much either. He'd be your small ball five. He spaces the floor.
I'm sorry, not to cut you up, but just go back to the for a second. It feels like the whole possibility of Zach LaVine, it feels like that ship has sailed. I haven't heard his name attached to the Warriors in like a month now.
He's had a good year, which is kind of crazy. Did you grow up a Bulls fan, by the way? I know you grew up in Indiana, but you're a Bulls. Oh, so what's your take on Zach LaVine? Because that dude, like, he can play, but he's got that contract that no one wants. He's making too much money for the Warriors.
It's just too expensive for damaged goods. I mean, what would you have to give up to get a guy who, again, is kind of on that? Sure, I'd be interested if you could put 3 weeks together. I mean, I already know that Zach LaVine's, he's got tightness in his hamstring. He doesn't even have tightness in his hamstring, but I also know that there's definitely tightness in his hamstring because there always is. It never leaves. It's always there.
Now, someone yesterday in the Golden Days chat brought up an interesting trade, which I'm not super high on Josh Giddey. I don't know how you feel about him, but the trade involved the Warriors. They're making a deal with the Bulls to get Nikola Vucevic and Josh Giddey. You're giving back Brandon Podziemski in that trade. So you're not only getting a center, but you're also getting a bigger point guard who Steve Kerr loves. The Warriors wanted Josh Giddey in the 2021 draft. He got picked by the Thunder right above the Warriors, but Kuminga fell to the Warriors in that process, which wasn't expected, and that's how that draft played out.
Let me ask you, is Josh Giddey?
I wouldn't mind Giddey.
Is Josh Giddey's issue with that underage girl behind him?
Look, supposedly that's in the past. I think that's crazy that he got away with that. That is a perfect example of privilege in this world where all you have to do is buy off the family and you can get away with the crime. With that said, and again, we don't know that 100%.
I don't know what happened, but I don't like that story at all.
No, it's pretty obvious what happened. And I feel comfortable painting it out like that because I'm pretty sure that's how it went down. With that said, look, man, he never got charged for a crime. It's whether or not the Bay Area community would be open to it. We brought Anthony Lamb in. And, despite objections, he was on the roster. So I don't think the Warriors would necessarily refrain from adding Josh Giddey because of his past. And I wouldn't mind it if you're swapping Podziemski for him. That's to me is a nice swap. I would accept that if you're also getting Vucevic in the process. But what are your thoughts on that? Would you rather have Giddey? Do you like Podziemski? What would you do there?
I would be interested in Josh Giddey, the player. You're not getting a defender at all, but no. Definitely more of a shooter, more of a. Here's the thing: Brandon Podziemski is supposed to be what Josh Giddey is.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah,
and the fact that one guy's a little bit bigger than the other makes me more interested, even though he doesn't play defense like he's that much bigger than the other. I don't know, man. Just Brandon Podziemski, like I get a different whiff off him every other time I see him. There's times where I'm like, okay, it's just enough here. This is no more. And then there are other times I'm like, this guy is a scrappy fucking white boy, just kind of pepper pot, pain in the ass, Patty Mills level, fucking just annoying. You want him on your team type of guy. And then he goes away, and then he's not that guy, and then he is. Just, every shot in the fourth quarter is a missed shot. Every pass in hey, you're up 12. And the only thing you got to do to not stab yourself in the heart tonight is to not stab yourself in the heart with like 3 bad plays in a row. And he's at the center of those. So I don't know. For a guy who's supposed to be I understand he's young, but isn't the whole thing about him is that he's an all court sort of polished player? Okay, well then be that. You can't be the guy who makes the mistake and doesn't hit the shot. You can't be that guy. And that's basically what Steve Kerr said. He cannot do these things for us. He cannot do what he did to help Denver come back in that game the other night.
Like those cross-court hook passes that fly into the stands.
Like what are you trying to make a and one mixtape tour? What do you think? You the professor? So that can't happen. Then it cannot happen. All right, Cyrus, this is a hell of a Warriors Wednesday. I'm glad we put it back together.
Yeah, of course.
What do you think happens in Houston tonight? Will the Warriors be going on to Las Vegas because they've beaten the Houston Rockets for a 16th time in a row?
I think it's crazy that the winning streak is that long. A lot of that signifies the Rockets when they were an awful team.
They were lost there.
Yeah, they were bad for a while. And so a lot of those wins came against just horrible Rockets teams. Now, with that said, the fact that both Sengun and Steven Adams are questionable tonight, that clearly bodes in favor of the Warriors, because Sengun in the fourth quarter of the last game they played was suddenly on fire in the fourth quarter. Kuminga scored 14 in that fourth quarter. Sengun.
Where did your volume go? Your microphone just kind of cut out on you. Can't hear you. I see that you just muted yourself.
There you go. There we go. Am I back now? Am I okay?
You're back.
That was just a glitch. All right, let me see if I can get my good mic going again. Can you hear me?
There it is.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Good. Okay, so we're back. All right, sorry about that. I guess I don't know what happened. Sometimes the platform just glitches. Anyways, what I was trying to say for tonight, Warriors Rockets. Sengun, the fact that Sengun's questionable is a good sign. The Sengun Jalen Green combo had me worried in the fourth quarter of that last game. Those two seem to have figured something out in terms of attacking the Warriors defense. I hope that was just a run, something that cannot sustain itself. With that said, the Rockets are favored in this game tonight. I believe the line is 1.5 in favor of the Rockets. I'm going to lean. I would not wager on this game because it's way too unpredictable. I feel like anyone can win this. With that said, despite the fact that the Rockets are favored by 2.5, if I'm a betting man, which I am, I would take the Warriors money line, courtesy of Bet Online, plus 117, or take plus 2.5, because if they're going to lose, it's likely going to be a close one. I think the Warriors will win, man. I think the Warriors are going to book themselves a trip to Vegas.
There you go.
Not lock that one down, man. I'm not saying that's a guarantee, but I'm going to lean Warriors largely because of the fact that Sengun's questionable. Steven Adams is questionable. Those two eat up the Warriors inside. Our boy, Trace Jackson-Davis, primarily your boy, but I love him too. We don't know what we're going to get from him, which is a little concerning for me right now. So regardless, I think the Warriors will pull it off. Wiggins, questionable. I hope he plays. If he does, that'll increase the odds. But we should be entertained.
There you go. So Cyrus's official gambling position is put it on the money, honey, if you're going to put it down at all.
Yeah. Small amount on the money line, so you can get some good odds. But if you lose, you're not losing the house. That would be my recommendation. What do you think, man? What's your what are you feeling for tonight?
I like the Warriors. Again, when you've beaten somebody 15 times in a row, there's a little bit of a trend. I don't think the Warriors are necessarily about to come off of that trend right now with the Sengun question mark going this evening. We will find out. To wrap up on a positive note, my favorite thing from this last week was Draymond Green yamming it down in a way where I didn't think he could get up like that on the break and come off a one leg like hammer cock back dunk. I mean, Draymond, like, woo, where'd that come from?
Incredible.
And then to hit everybody with the night. And then he was asked about it, and he was like, yeah, I had an out-of-body experience.
I blacked out.
Yeah. Like, I don't remember. He's like, I don't even remember doing it. I just had an out-of-body experience. When Draymond is feeling that level frisky, good basketball usually follows.
Absolutely.
So keep that up, Draymond. Keep that up. And I honestly didn't think he had legs that were going to let him yam that hard at any point in time on anyone. That was Okay, Draymond. All right. There we go again.
Adrenaline is a beautiful thing. And clearly that started coursing through his veins as he's staring at Rudy Gobert, NBA villain number one.
He did have the Rudy hatred coursing through his veins.
Absolutely, man. Something you just saw flames in his eyeballs, dude, just lighting up.
He is going a little great. Graymond isn't bad.
It is, yeah. He's falling. Yeah, he's turning into us. I don't mine's pronounced. Yeah, at least in the goatee area, I still got some color.
Yeah, you're all right up. You're all right. You're all right.
I want to acknowledge Traveling Urquidez in the chat, predicting 24.7 rebounds, 3 assists for Kuminga. That is insanely specific, so random that I had to call that out. And then Chris Runnings right below him, calling Kuminga the Congo King. I like that. I like that nickname. I agree he needs to go off tonight. Should be a fun one regardless with those crazy courts. Very red. I posted a practice video on my Threads account. Well, I was trying to. It's still saying it's not posted, but I will post a practice video. There's a video out there of shoot around from this morning. I'll post on social media. Wiggins was a participant in shoot around. And regardless, let's hope for a fun game and a Warriors win, Damon. This is always a pleasure, brother.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We will be back next Wednesday for a little weekly Warrior conversation here with my man Cyrus, and that is why we bring it to you across both channels, baby. Make sure you are liking and subscribing to Golden Days. Make sure you do the exact same to Damon Bruce. Plus, thank you so much for tuning in, and please do remember that sports don't build character. They reveal it. And like that, they're gone.
Great show.